Shalom, this is ben-Emmett again with another special edition of the Torah Watchman Show International. Yes, what I have is a very important informational piece. As you know, all my videos are on YouTube. Okay, I have a special, unique YouTube channel called the Torah Watchman Show International. Okay, and I also have a premium account there for my child as a kids edition. I advocate that. You don't have to watch it so much as a parent. It is very kid friendly, has parental controls in place. Anyway, I use YouTube quite often for a quick news bite. Okay, there's news that impacts Israel that I like to watch. There's also things like Fox News. There's One Area Network. There's Breitbart and other things like this. What's happening in the ever-changing, dynamic, and crazy world that we live in. Now, one of the channels that I actually became very interested in, my wife even liked it too, it was named Redacted, okay? I subscribed to it for a brief period of time, for maybe a month, because I thought they needed funding and help. Anyway, where I'm going is, this is about Redacted, okay? What is Redacted? Well, if you know the technical cybersecurity term on classification of documents like that, like the so-called January 6th insurrection of the Capitol building in DC. Well, a lot of that report on all of that analysis and everything was redacted. That has red lines going through all the information. The government likes to classify things that is injurious, not to the national security posture of our country, but is injurious to politicians, with them running for important elections again. So if they have that authority and power, they redact it and mark it all up, and you're the last one to find out. Well, Redacted has done a lot of good things, okay? First of all, I'm trying to be fair, okay? I just read in my my Sidra, and in my Siddur, and the special section from Mincha and Avrit prayers, my evening prayers as an Orthodox Jew, and good keeping with a minyan and a local Orthodox synagogue. Anyway, it says very clearly, God forgive me for misjudging anyone. God forgive me for using my tongue to hurt others and to spread malicious gossip. That's wrong. But I want to give you some very good facts about this show, Redacted, okay? What they said made this issue so livid, I just really had to control myself. I talked to a beautiful lady in Israel, and she told me she couldn't watch the complete show. What I'm talking about, Redacted, the crew there, the people that have daily shows there, newscasting and things like this. They talk about the other end of the coin per se, like the COVID-19 scandal, Wuhan province in China, all the censorship and the news media outlets and things like that. They talk about what Biden administration is not really telling the truth about Ukraine, XYZ. Just use your imagination. So they're the other end of the coin that you won't find in very important, compelling news stories that are very provocative that you don't even hear on Fox News, much less CNN or MSNBC. But what I heard just a few days ago was so telling of what, to find out the true heart and soul of a person, sometimes you have to watch and listen to them continually if you care. Sometimes someone appears to be your friend and they're really your adversary, your enemy. What they were saying, now this group is libertarians, okay? I have no problem with libertarians. I have a very strong federalist libertarian streak with me too, okay? I am anti-war to some degree. I don't think we should cause World War III, for instance, and getting involved in other people's civil affairs, like in Ukraine and Russian Federation. The conflict has been going on for hundreds of years. But what I'm saying is, what they were talking, to turn the corner the other direction toward Israel. As you know, a lot of things are happening in Israel that are not good. For instance, they've used the inflammatory word West Bank instead of Samaria. They use the same messaging used by people like Omar and Tlaib and other very radical Islamists in the House of Representatives, the Muslim Brotherhood, Hamas, and Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations, that they're the same messaging. What I heard there, they were referring, to be quick about this in a synopsis, they were referring to Israeli soldiers murdering Palestinian babies and children. Okay? They were talking about all the casualties of the Palestinians in the West Bank. What they did not talk about was the devil in the details, and that's why I'm doing this video. Let me wrap this up and we get a home run and get out of here, right? So where I'm going is that you have mainly two conflicting sides in Israel. You have between any three Jews, you have three different opinions. We argue among ourselves all the time. That's beautifully sweet because we learn something. But however, there's some of the Arab cousins out there in Israel that really vehemently hate the Jewish people. Not only like they don't want to be with that group of Jews, they want every Jew to be executed. They want every Jew to be driven in the Mediterranean Sea. This is in Hamas charter. Don't shoot the messenger. This is true. Okay? They believe that all of Israel is called Palestine. They believe all of Jerusalem is called Al-Aqsa. They have totally reverse engineered all the beautiful history of Israel going back 4,000 years and rewritten their own fake propaganda like the Chronicles of Narnia. Yeah, you like Harry Potter. Yeah, you like all those fantasy lands and everything. Yes, yeah. This is called Hollywood, like Hollywood. Anyway, this is a very serious matter. I'm not kidding. What they were talking about is they were accusing Israeli soldiers defending Jewish civilians. I'm talking about women and children and elderly people, and they're not namely men that can actually hold a gun or a bat or some sort of weapon to defend themselves. You have Jewish communities there that are in A and B and C groups within Samaria, okay? Palestinians love to say West Bank. They call the whole area Palestine. But anyway, you have Jews trying to live peacefully there. But there have been so many murders lately in Israel. I'd say every week. It's not crime per se. It's not theft or robberies. People lose their lives all the time in Chicago and the United States for that. This is ethnic cleansing by the Palestinians against the Jews. Now, if someone murders your sons, two little boys recently lost their lives, okay? The car ramming attack. But if someone, you hear them say, I'm going to murder your wife. I'm going to murder your daughter. I'm going to murder your son. What are you going to do? Are you going to run for your life? Are you going to call the police? Are you going to call the special red line for the IDF battalion that's next to you? What are you going to do? What if there's no one else there to help you? What if everyone else is running away and all you have is yourself to defend your family? This is a situation. It's like the Old West in the United States in the 1800s, early 1900s. There's vigilante justice. Now, you hear in the Torah all the time, tooth for tooth, eye for eye. Well, in Judaism, we are encouraged to forgive people. We are encouraged to pray for those people for peace and shalom. The word shalom is universal between both Islam and Judaism. It really is. But it's getting so bad now. You got these splinter groups coming out of nowhere, and this is all funded by Iran. They really are. And they will do anything to burn down a synagogue or burn down a yeshiva, Jewish learning university there, burn down Jewish homes. Then you have squatter Palestinians that move over the area that was agreed in 1994 with a treaty there with Jordan for peace treaty with Jordan, which is nothing but a bunch of farce, if you ask me. They have squatters that are getting into the category I just mentioned, A, B, and C, getting into those areas and sections within Samaria, north of Jerusalem, north of Judea there, along the Galilee and the Dead Sea, in those areas. And they are actually have illegal homes and trailers establishments there. Like they have about 200,000 squatters, and then the Negev Desert too. These are like illegal aliens asserting themselves in the United States against honest, hardworking Americans. The same thing is going there, except these people are trying to kill you. Now, the Jewish people have had enough, okay? It's like throwing gasoline on the fire. It's exactly what's going on. That's what Redacted is addressing. But they're doing the same thing you would hear on the Crescent News Network. They really are. I'm going to have a small clip from their video for this to let my listening audience out there I am not hurling darts at anyone. I'm not making baseless judgments against anyone. You will hear for yourself and see for yourself the language they're using.
Where the Israeli military carried out an assault on the West Bank, what many are calling a massacre. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is reportedly considering attacking Iran. Our own Redacted correspondent Dan Cohen spent years in Israel and Palestine, right, Dan?
Yeah, I was based there for a little over 3 years, from 2014 to 2017. Doing independent journalism and documentary filmmaking. So I know the country intimately, both kind of the Israeli and the Palestinian side.
So what people are describing as a massacre, it sounds like it was a pretty terrible situation, and it sounds like bombing was unfolding throughout the night. Can you tell us what exactly happened here?
Well, so this took place in the occupied West Bank city of Nablus. The bombing has been in the Gaza Strip. So in the West Bank city of Nablus, so far 11 Palestinians are dead. Among them are several suspected members of a small armed group called the Lion's Den, which has recently sprung up. But Israeli soldiers also killed a 72-year-old man and a 16-year-old boy. There are 100 injured, maybe more than 100 people injured, several of them with critical injuries and are hospitalized. This Lion's Den group is an armed resistance, small armed resistance faction that is based in the cities of Nablus and Jenin. And it was formed in order to essentially to ward off Israeli military incursions. It's very small, does not have any kind of sophisticated weaponry or training, in particular, in comparison to the extremely powerful and well-armed Israeli military. But Israel treats it as a very serious threat, I think because it doesn't want to see any kind of organized armed resistance grow in the West Bank, which it largely has pacified, unlike the Gaza Strip. Now, Nablus and Jenin, where this group, the Lion's Den, operates, are in the northern part of the occupied West Bank, and Nablus in particular is surrounded by several settlements populated by some of the most extreme and ideologically motivated Israelis. So this assault took place inside the Nablus Old City, which is extremely dense, full of alleyways, and makes for very tough fighting. There's actually surveillance footage that Palestinians have released that they say shows Israeli special forces dressing like elderly people and worshipers to actually sneak inside the old city. This wouldn't really be out of the ordinary at all for Israeli military operations. They're known to dress as Palestinians in order to infiltrate, whether it's protests or cities or anything else. The Israeli military published footage of the attack on the old city of Nablus, so you can see the soldiers going inside through these alleyways, shooting. There's also footage of a Palestinian fighter being hit by an Israeli sniper. Israelis carried out what they call a pressure cooker operation, in which they fire rockets at a house with someone inside in what is clearly an attempt to kill them, and is always successful. There was also another major attack on the Jenin refugee camp in late January that left 9 Palestinians dead, and there have been hundreds of individual attacks by Israeli soldiers and settlers. And in late January, a Palestinian killed several Israelis in a settlement in occupied Jerusalem. So it seems that it's...
When I was on that channel at the time and referring to murders of Palestinians, hurting Palestinians, some Palestinian critical condition, they did not say one thing about Palestinian terrorism and a natural Jewish resistance movement where they just trying to survive, try to defend the way of life. Jews are not going out into Palestinian villages trying to kill women and children. They're certainly not launching 5,000 missiles in Palestinian communities there. We don't do that. But the Palestinians do this, and they get away with it, okay? Just recently, there's a new bill, and pray for this, it's passing through the Knesset. I hope it will pass soon, to reenact the death penalty against any Muslim, any Arab, any Palestinian who has committed first-degree murder against a Jew. And I hope it goes through there. So an organization like Redacted is supposed to be getting out the truth, right? The truth that's not politically correct, that no one is afraid to say it or they may lose their job over it. I commend them for that. The reason why I pulled the plug on them, like I pulled a plug on so many other news outlets like Fox News, is because they're adopting the same messaging you find in the enemy's camp, where they really are. And then the blog in the comments there, when I announced there my truth about what's happening there are Muslims on there. They were sprouting the most filthy and vile, hateful bigotry toward the Jewish people that was in the same alignment with the messaging of the crew on Redacted. Now, how does this impact you if you're a Jew? Well, you know there's groups like the Jewish Defense League, per se. There are of course, we have laws in the United States against hate speech that leads to violence. We have the 1964 Civil Rights Act. President Trump recently added and modified that about anti-Semitism. You cannot do it. It's illegal in this country. You cannot paint a swastika on the side of a Jew's home or synagogue or Jewish community center without being arrested and fined. It's illegal to do this. Excuse me. All choked up on this. So what you can do about this, you can report these groups. I've reported this. There's a group on Facebook, I cannot remember their name, but any kind of inflammatory anti-Semitic propaganda that's on YouTube, like it's run by Hamas and Hezbollah and other Palestinian Islamic radical extremist groups. I'm not condemning every Arab in Israel, and I'm not saying every Arab should go back to Saudi Arabia where they came from. I'm saying there are a growing number, a percentage of majority there of Arabs, of Palestinians, Syrians, Egyptians, what do you want to call them, of that descent, that are committing open warfare against innocent Jewish civilians. I'm not talking about military. I'm talking about militants, Palestinian militants, committing murder and various acts of violence against Jewish women and children. I've reported this group. I'm no longer subscribing to this group. I put my comments on Facebook and social media about this group, and I'm doing this special edition of the Torah Watchman Show International Edition to get the news out to you. Stay away from the group. If you're a Jew, or you are supporting an organization there that is talking out of both sides of their mouth and are bigoted against the Jewish people. They are anti-Semites in every definition of the word of anti-Semite. So I hope that you can look this up yourself and make your own decision. I'm not telling you what to do. If you're a Christian out there or Nohide or whatever, and you pray for the peace of Jerusalem, which is commanded to you, even your pastor or priest or whatever is talking about, you should pray for the peace of Jerusalem, right? Not for the destruction of Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is a Jewish city, since King David conquered, Salem, a Canaanite Hittite city back in his time, okay? Anyway, it is what it is, okay? We need to get along with each other. We don't need to go pull out a gun and shoot people over an argument of road rage and everything else. We certainly don't need to. There's not one person that is not completely not prejudiced against someone else, okay? Birds of the feather flock together, right? Caucasians generally like to be with other Caucasians. African Americans generally like to be with other African Americans. Asians generally like to be with other Asians. Native Americans generally like to be with other Native Americans. I like to be with all races and creeds and ethnicities, all nationalities. I don't care what your color is. Like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said in closing, the conduct of your character is more important than the color of your face. When we say shalom aleichem, when we say peace, brother, make it stick. But you need to always watch your back. Look out there. and report every single act of anti-Semitism, and especially if someone is growing their news network like Redacted in popularity, and they're very popular. Like I said, I've watched them for several months because I agree with their arguments about Ukraine. But even though I like some of their points, I had to pull the plug and report them for hate speech because they support others that hate the Jewish people and referring to the IDF as murdering Palestinian children. I've heard this by Hamas in Gaza. Anyway, Reb Yaar ben-Emmett signing out. Want you to know I love you all. Thank you for subscribing with me. Share the love and wealth and knowledge and truth. Anyone that's willing to hear it, if they resist you, live the truth. Give charity for the remission of your sins. Give charity. I saw someone today was crippled, a fellow Jew. I reached out and gave him $5 to try to help him. I saw something today that was so wonderful. Two men, an African American in a wheelchair, using his hands and struggling his arm, going across a busy highway. University Avenue, okay. Going across there at the pedestrian crossing legally, and then trying to go up a ramp to a business area. I don't know why he wanted to go there. The important thing is there was a Caucasian man smoking a cigarette, stopped at what he was doing, saw this man struggling, and he went behind the wheelchair and pushed him up so he wouldn't have to struggle. I don't think these people knew one another. There's a lot that Jews can learn from watching two Gentiles or two non-observant people exhibiting the same kind of charity that God has been trying to preach to you for thousands of years, since the beginning of time, right? Anyway, God bless you. Take care. Shalom Aleichem.